Good morning. Welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Joel Ibanez, and I am your worship associate today. Reverend Sian Wiltshire, our minister, is here. We do have Jacob Swetland, our director of music ministries, who is out today. But we do have Ginny and Susan, who will be replacing him today. And Julian Berger, our piano accompanist, is out sick today as well. So we all welcome you this morning. We'd like to recognize the many volunteers that have helped to put this service together. We respectfully recognize that our church property rests on Ahachiman and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. We're bound together not by a common set of rules or beliefs, but rather a covenant. A covenant is a promise that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we're committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. And for our Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. I'd like to extend a special welcome to visitors as well. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we hope you will find it here. We begin our worship with the lighting of our chalice. And this morning, I'd like to invite Jennifer Thomas up, there we go, to go ahead and light this. Jennifer is very into gardening and beekeeping and is an avid advocate of the environment. She's also an experienced real estate broker and recently was taken in as our building and grounds chair. Yay. So please join her as we go ahead. There we go.
Mistake.
Please join her as we say in unison our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together. And please join us in singing our opening song.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
So today is kind of a fun Sunday. It's kind of always an interesting one. I do these about every couple of years or so. It's called Question Box Sunday. And it's basically, if you have any question that you would like to ask the minister, if you'd like them to address anything, theology, governance, life, the universe, everything, I will be in the hot seat and you can ask me, and I'll do my best to give you the answers. And this is great if you're a visitor here today, because this chances are someone else also has a question that you might have, like, what is Unitarian Universalism? We're still trying to figure that one out. So we're working on this, but if you've got something nagging in the back of your mind, also if you're someone who's been around for a while, this is a great way to do that. And you should have a piece of paper that was put on your seat that will help you with that. If you need a pen or a pencil, just raise your hand and the ushers will bring it over to you. If you're finding that somehow in the middle of the service, like, I've got a great question, just raise your hand and the ushers will bring you a piece of paper and a pen as well. So that's basically, so because, you know, we are a community of seekers, of questioners, and of those open to the revelation that comes from experiences with one another and the spirit of life. Now, by the way, also Zoomers, obviously you can write in the chat. We're going to leave the chat open for the service, so you can write it in there. So welcome to this community full of questions, and every once in a while we even have some answers. All right, I've got a question in our Time for All Ages for all of you. Who here wants to become a minister? No fair, Karen. You've already been a minister. I think Wendy, they're smarter than we are. Well, if you're harboring a secret desire to be one, Wendy and I are going to tell you all about what is involved in being a minister. And before Wendy goes in a little bit more detail, I am going to mention a couple of things. First of all, jumping through the hoops to be a minister, because there's a lot of hoops. Okay, first of all, it's really expensive. I was going to put a list together, but I didn't want to frighten you of what it costs, but it is a lot. I will say after 10 years of serving a church, you do get to have your student loans forgiven. So that's been really nice for me. But anyway, the other thing you need to know is there's some acronyms that people use a lot that you'll hear about. One is called the MFC, the Ministerial Fellowshipping Committee, which sounds really benign, but if I say it to someone who hasn't been there, they start trembling. It is the governing body that basically puts its stamp of approval that this person is good enough to be a minister in our congregations, in all of our congregations. And so most people who do it, that's the big deal. That's I'm standing before the MFC. Oh my goodness. And we've actually have two people in this congregation who have been on the MFC. One is Karen Stoyanov, our Minister Emerita, and also Phyllis Daniel online. And she was the chair of the MFC, as a matter of fact. So, yeah. And she was not scary. I just want you to know she's absolutely lovely. But at any rate, so the other one to know about is called the UUMA. This is different from the UUA, right? The Unitarian Universalist Association. The UUMA is the Ministers Association, and it kind of acts as, I mean, I sort of jokingly call it a union for the ministers, but it helps us with continuing education and helps us deal with issues that are coming up. And it's a way for ministers to support one another, since we're kind of usually, alone in our congregations. So one of the lines in our understanding of what it means to be part of the UUMA is because we need one another, and we do. So, and then there are different seminaries that you can go to. There are actually two UU seminaries. One is Starr King, which is in the Bay Area, part of the Graduate Theological Union, and then the Meadville Lombard, which is in the Chicago area. But both of them can be done from a distance as well, partially from a distance. But you can also go to other ceremonies. Harvard actually was originally a Unitarian seminary. In fact, they still have a chair of Unitarian ministry there. And so it's still a great one. I went to Seattle University, which is a Catholic seminary, but it's one of the approved ones on the list. So there's one in the area is Claremont Theological Union is another one where, like, some of you know Reverend Jason, he came from there and went to that school. So. All right, so Wendy is going to tell you the steps, the hoops that you have to jump through.
going to start from the very, very beginning of the hoop. So the first thing that has to happen if you want to be a minister is this thing called discernment, which is a fancy word for, do I really want to do this? Do I feel called? Do I have something to say to the universe? How do I help? And once you've decided that that's the thing, then you need to get a letter of recommendation from a UU minister. And then you go through a background check, make sure you're not doing things that a minister shouldn't. And then you go to congregational sponsorship. So if you want to be a UU minister, you probably belong to a congregation already. So you approach someone in your community, the board president perhaps, that can recommend you for that service. And thankfully, the board president at the time when I was at UUCF supported me in that decision. And then you apply to a seminary. So I chose to go to MLTS in no small part. Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. MLTS, which is Meadville Lombard Theological School, in no small part because of this woman right here who was my breakfast partner. And Karen Stoynoff helped me kind of discern which seminary I should go to. So that is a 3-year program. I am just completed year 2, but part of that program too is you have to go through a career assessment. And that is kind of an evaluation of what kind of work should I do for the world. And they ask a lot of very personal questions trying to figure that out. But the next step, certified pastoral education, which is what I did last summer. I spent the summer working for Downey Hospital as a hospital chaplain. So that was a big hoop. And then I went back to school and I started alongside my school. I came to this congregation and I am about to complete on June 16th my first year of internship here. But fear not, I'll be back for year 2. Woo! At the end of August, but that's kind of not all. At this point, I am considered a candidate. So as I hopefully graduate last year, as I graduate next year, I will be coming into that process of going to that MFC place. Yes, and I will have to do a 10-minute sermon and answer some questions for about an hour. And what they really want to see, folks, is a minister. Have I become a minister with all of this work? And I'll probably be doing that the following fall. And then that's pretty much it. And there's about 50 required reading books along the way, too. So anyway, I will let Sean tell you about the next steps after that.
Well, actually, wait a minute. There's one more. So if you want to see where she's at.
Oh, right.
So this is her colored in. So, yeah. So once you get that stamp of approval by the MFC, you're what's considered in preliminary fellowship. But there's a really big step that's missing. Can anybody tell me what that step is at the very end of this? What is it? Ordination! Which is a totally fun party, at least it was for me, and it's an absolutely fun thing. Many of you were here when we did ordained our last intern, Rika, and hopefully we'll also be doing the ordination for Wendy as well. But you would think that that was the end of the hoops. But no, there's more! Okay, so there's a bunch after you get preliminary fellowship, then you get ordained, and then you have to so you're in preliminary fellowship for 3 years at least, and you have to be evaluated each of those 3 years. It goes to the MFC every single year until finally, if you pass after 3 years, or maybe it's 4 or 5, you get the stamp of approval, and then you're what's called full fellowship. So I'm in full fellowship, but it took me 3 years to get there. And then now they have continuing education requirements as well. So it kind of never ends, the hoops. But that's okay. You just really have to love what it is that we're doing. So that's what we wanted to do for our Time for All Ages today. Let's sing. Wendy, would you like to light our children's chalice? And then we'll sing our children out to their religious education classes.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious love. We hold you in our love as you go.
Kate wanted to know how many dogs have I fostered. I love it. Boy, how many? If I count all the puppies, probably around 40, something like that. Yeah, if I count all the puppies. Okay. So, all right. So it is Question Box Sunday. So I want to give you guys a chance to think about this. Like, is there a question that you would like to ask me? Now, chances are I'm not going to be able to get to everybody's question, but I'm also willing to stay after if there was something that was really nagging on your mind, to let me know. So I want to give you a chance to think about a question. Don't worry if you don't have one. Zoomers, you can write it in the chat. I've already actually got one sent to me. And you have the piece of paper here in the room. So first of all, there's no such thing as a bad question. Truly. And if you have a question, chances are someone else has it too. Even if you're new and you're like, I really want to know the basics, that's totally fine. Let's see here. By the way, I do ask you sign your name to it, but you do not, I won't say the person's name who's asking it. It just helps me with context a little bit. Sometimes that can be helpful. So I just want to let's take a moment for you to consider what questions you might have. And then, yes, then we'll be picking those up as well. Yeah. All right, we can also sing, while we're picking them up and you're writing, we can sing a song that has a lot of questions in it.
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going?
All right, to give Joel some time to figure out which ones seem like good questions to answer. I always want you to know some people sent me questions ahead of time. And so I'm going to start with those. And I've also got a bunch here as well online. So let's see here. So one of the first questions that I got asked was, what is the main purpose of a eulogy? Okay, is it only to praise the deceased, telling all their good works, or should one say something about the real person as they're known to that person giving the eulogy? In other words, what if it's a complex relationship, right? How do you deal with that? So a couple of answers to that is, one, so eulogy it means good word, right? That's the Greek derivation of it. And so most people do actually say it's meant to be as praise of, say, good words about the person. How I approach it is that actually I think of it as the ology of that eulogy is the study of the goodness. So in other words, I look at a person's life and what did I learn from their life? What did they teach us? And sometimes those things may be things not to do. You know, I think about my father who never went to the doctor, and he died at age 67 of a massive heart attack that was probably preventable. And so for some reason it runs in my family that we all just don't want to go to the doctor. But my twin sister and I are like, you're going to the doctor. If anything happens, you're going. So that's one of the things that we can do is go, okay, well, what did I learn from this person? What did they say? I think the other thing to recognize about a celebration of life service or a memorial service is that there's a lot of pain in the room from that heart breaking open from the grief. And so there's the reason why people want to is they want to express love. That's why they do the praising and the eulogy. And a eulogy is not for the dead, it's for the living, right? And so acknowledging that love is really important to do as part of it. So when things are complex, there are ways that I do in a service to help people reconcile with that, usually in a meditation type of thing. But it's not, I have mentioned things in eulogies that this person was complex or they had difficult relationships with some people or something like that if it's well known. But it's not something I usually will do. So hopefully that answered their question. All right, let's see. I love it. This is from Lucas. Do you like it? Being a reverend. I love it. I absolutely love it. It is my calling. It takes all my skills and everything that I know how to do in the world and brings it all together. So yeah, I do. This is it for my career. All right, let's see here. I'm sorry?
Lucas is so cute.
I know. He's so cute. I also want to say, so another person sent me a question. I'm going to try to go back and forth in these. So let's see. Someone online said, do you believe in God? And if so, how would you describe or define it, him, her, them? Yeah, whenever you ask me, do I believe in God, I'm like, which God? If you're talking about a white guy up in the sky, you know, who's judging people, no, I don't believe in that God. I don't believe that Jesus was God any more than all of us are children of God. I believe that God is love, that it's expressed in love, that it's an energy, it's a creative energy in this world that invites us into relationship with it and with one another. That's my definition of love, or of God. Right. All right, let's see here. Does a minister get paid? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wish I could say that I could live off of nothing and just the manna from the sky, you know, or whatever. But no, ministers definitely get paid. In fact, I'm paid very well by this church, and I'm very grateful for that. So that's part of the reason why we have a pledge drive. All of our staff get paid. Everybody here gets paid. So unfortunately, I do have to pay rent and buy food, and you know, the student loans are no longer there, thankfully, but you know, other things have, you know, car payments, you know, insurance, all that sort of thing. So yeah, we definitely have to get paid. All right, let's see here.
Does any part of your education get paid?
Oh, does any part of my education get paid by the congregation or anything? Yeah, no. I mean, I got my student loans forgiven, so that was really nice. But no, I had to save up a lot, and I worked all the way through seminary and everything. I do believe that Wendy has a pretty good scholarship that she's on. Meadville Lombard is really pretty good at supporting people in scholarships and everything. I think Rika was on a full scholarship when she was here, in fact. So yeah, it's one of the challenges that we have as a denomination is if we're truly going to be diverse and allow people of different backgrounds is how do we make it affordable? And that's something that we've been working a lot on. So let's see here. All right. Let's see, I want to make sure. Oh, so another one that was sent to me. This is a really interesting one. It says, process theology says God shares in the suffering of both humans and animals, but doesn't intervene except to try to lure people, not to cause suffering. There are about 20-some billion animals unnecessarily suffering in factory farms right now, 1.7 billion in the US. So first of all, if God shares in all that suffering, how does he do it? And second, if you think that in some way do you think in some way that God comforts those animals, maybe at least after they die? So I am something of a process theologian as well. So the definition that I gave earlier of God kind of speaks to what process theologians believe. In process theology, they don't see God as omnipotent, all-powerful, or omniscient, all-knowing, but as omnipresent. So it's always here and there with us in all that we do. And the other thing about process theology is it says basically we are co-creators with God. We are the universe trying to figure itself out. All of life is. And so for us, for me in process theology, God, we're the ones who comfort animals. We're the ones who can make a difference in the world and bring compassion to the world. And in terms of, I believe that all is reconciled upon death, and that's just another transition to something else. I don't know what it is. And every religion says you're not really supposed to know. Concentrate on it here. So that's something that I kind of hold in terms of what happens after we die. I think that all suffering does get alleviated at death and everything. So I know this person cares deeply for animals, as do I. All right, let's see here. Do other faiths go to our Unitarian Universalist seminaries? Do candidates of other faiths go to? I believe that they can, whether or not they're accepted in other faith traditions. I believe, for example, United Church of Christ and Disciples of Christ, which are two very liberal traditions, share with us in the Graduate Theological Union. And the Graduate Theological Union, which is in the Bay Area with Starr King, they share classes together as well. So, but no, an Episcopalian would not go to anything other than an Episcopalian seminary. I do know that, like most of them are that way. They wouldn't do it that way. There are some traditions, more evangelical traditions, that you don't have to go to seminary. You just have to be called. So, yeah. Let's see here. If a friend asks, what is a Unitarian, do you answer... How do you answer in a coherent sentence that's that shows it's religious and it's special? So, it's so true though, right? The way I answer this is, who am I talking to? If I'm talking to someone who I think is a Christian and is very Christian and just doesn't understand us, I'll give a little history. I'll go, well, the Unitarians believed in the unity of God and the Universalists believed in the salvation of all, and they came together because they believed that that was actually kind of the same thing, that God loves everyone and we are all one and children of God. So if I'm talking to a Christian, if I'm talking to someone who's just like, I'm being generally agnostic or even atheistic or something, I'll say, well, we're a pluralistic faith. We have people who believe all different things, and some people don't believe in any type of God. Many different beliefs, one loving community. That's my coherent, semi-coherent. It's hard to do it in one sentence though, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, I want to point out though that fundamentalists don't either. If you talk to a fundamentalist, they will give you sentence after, Jesus is the light and the way, and and they'll go on and on and on about it. So I don't feel too bad taking a couple of sentences to do it. So there you go. All right. Let's see. No more here online. Let's see. Let's see here. All right. What has been most surprising to you over your past 10 years here in Orange County? It's been most surprising to you. I guess, well, there's a couple things that came immediately to mind. One, that I'm still here. And that sounds terrible, but with if you guys remember my I was like maybe my third year, my sister was diagnosed with flesh-eating bacteria, and she almost died. And I was like, okay, I got to get it back up to Seattle. I can't be far away anymore. And I looked at other churches, and I'm like, I can't leave this church. My sister's now resigned. She's like, Sean, you're happy there. Just stay. You're fine. So part of it is I'm just surprised I'm still here. I thought I would be gone. Where most ministers, the average I think is now 7 years, stay at a congregation. I've been here almost 11. So it's been a nice ride.
Not leaving.
I know, that's right. Jolynn has some abandonment issues. We're talking. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see here. I'm trying to think. There was something else that came to mind. What has surprised you? I have to admit, I am amazed we came up with almost $2 million to build the new sanctuary. I am blown away by that generosity, like absolutely blown away. I remember when we started the Capital Cam, I'm like, yeah, maybe 300,000 or 400,000 maybe. And oh my gosh, you guys have really come through. That really blew my mind. So thank you for that. So, all right, let's see here. What moved you to go to ministry school? What was the call to ministry? Ooh, I talked about this a long time ago, like in my first year. I guess I haven't said anything in a long time. It was definitely a call, and a call is a really weird thing to happen to you because it's like this feeling that you're supposed to be doing something and you don't know what it is. And so I literally would lie awake at night talking to that feeling. What's going on? What do I need to do? And it came out through a whole process of things. But as many of you also know, I'm a shamanic practitioner. And that means that I know this sounds a little woo-woo, bear with me, you can think about it however you like, but I work with helping spirits, and I asked my helping spirits, what's going on? And they said, you're gonna be a minister. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I argue with them, and they were like, yeah, Sean, get out of your system, whatever, you're gonna be a minister. And so that's kind of basically how it came about. It's something that actually I think I've been called to my whole life and just never listened until finally I finally did, as my spirit guides are laughing at me. Anyway, all right, let's see here. One person sent in 11 different questions, and I'm not going to answer all of them. But I thought there were some really interesting, and he said you don't have to answer all of them, but here's a whole bunch of them for you. He says, if self-awareness is scary, is it worth it, and why? And I think this comes back, I think I did a sermon about this a while back, about, self-awareness it can be a terrifying thing because you're looking at your own shadow, right? The things that you are blind to and you don't really see, and then suddenly you have to face them, and you go, oh my. And you have a choice. You can change, or you can double down. And that's the fear is what happens when we double down on something, right? Rather than being open to it. I totally think it's worth it. I can't tell you how much happier I am. Believe it or not, I used to be really uptight. No, seriously, wedge right up there, okay? And I feel so much happier now, from that. So I think that's the key to happiness, honestly, is self-awareness. So, all right, let's see here. Oh, and I did have one other, that's right, sent to me as well, but what else have we got here? All right. Are we a God-based religion? We're a love-based religion. Yeah, I mean, if you want to call that God, you can, but I wouldn't say God, because that means so many different things to so many different people, but I think we can mostly agree on what love is. Let's see here. Another one that was sent in an email. Let me see. How would you rank order your responsibilities as our congregation's minister? Those responsibilities, the priorities change all the time. So number one, I think, probably has to be pastoral care, right? If someone's in crisis, I want to be there, and so does my team. Worship is the other one, obviously. I mean, it takes a ton of my time to put together worship service every Sunday. It's not just the sermon, it's the time for all ages, it's the reading, the opening words, and working with Jacob about the music, and all of that. So that always often is a priority every week. But yeah, pastoral care is what I would see. And then beyond that, there's always projects, there's social justice stuff, there's speaking up about things, all sorts of things that go on. Let's see here. Interesting. Why isn't paganism discussed more as a sermon topic? Nobody's asked me to. I'm happy to do it. I'm a shaman, so I'm right there in the pagan world. And I think that if you ever have a sermon topic for me, by all means, let me know. I'm happy to do it. I love paganism. Paganism is what teaches us about the cycles of the earth and how we can go with those cycles of the earth and all of the beautiful ways that the earth speaks to us and everything. So yeah, I love it. And there's all sorts of kinds of paganism. I mean, you could talk about Norse paganism and you can talk about, Native American paganism. There's all kinds of different paganisms. So if there's a specific type of paganism that somebody would like, I'd be happy to do that. So let's see here. Do all ministers other than the traditional Catholics you see go through the same hoops? I wouldn't say the exact same hoops, but they definitely go through hoops. I will say that the Episcopalians, as I understand it, are known for the number of hoops they go through, but I had an Episcopalian look at ours and went, wow, you guys really go through a lot. So, yeah, if it's a mainline denomination that's been around, or Catholics, there is a lot of hoops that you have to jump through. Again, like I said, there's some where you don't have many hoops. You can just have a calling and start speaking, and then you become the minister you're called if you can get a congregation together. That's Methodists have hoops. Yeah, I went to seminary with a bunch of Methodists. They're required to go to seminary, and yeah, definitely. How would a person know who is a qualified minister? So the MFC is that governing body, right, in our tradition, and they look at everything they call it a career assessment, but it's actually a psychological assessment. Are you psychologically stable? Do you have the ability to do that? That's the feedback we also give to Wendy as part of her internship is this, what you really want to do? Is this good for you? Have you, she started out a little roughly, in her speaking, and she's gotten better, right? And that's part of also it is the training and finding out for, how is everybody doing? So let's see here. All right. I'm trying to think did I miss anybody else who sent something in? Nope. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, this is a sermon, and I may have to do this one. So, how are the characters on Firefly like a UU congregation? Now, this person knows that I'm a geek and that I love the show Firefly, and I can't do that in 2 minutes. But I feel a sermon coming on. We might have it. And but y'all have to watch Firefly. Okay, I think you can get it on Netflix, but it's a great show. So, at any rate, that's right. Let's see how. I'm just reading this question because I'm not sure. Oh my goodness. Does the trolley problem have a moral solution? And the trolley problem is this. You are the driver of a trolley and move at speed. There are 5 people standing on the tracks. You have the option to turn off onto a spur, but then there is one person on the track there. What do you do? Turn around? I'm not sure. Basically, do you make a choice to kill one person instead of 5? I think is the moral question, right? And wow, I don't know that it has an easy solution, right? Who are the 5 people? Who's the one person? Is there different qualifiers in there? If everything's equal, does one life? Is it okay for 5? To die? That's a difficult question and probably maybe needs another sermon type of thing. So, but interesting question. Yeah, there's a lot of moral questions that we can ask these hypotheticals, but I'm not sure where it gets us, right? Like, I'd be interested in asking, a question about, okay, Israel, Gaza. Israel has a right to defend itself, but to what point does it become genocide? Like, that to me is a real question to ask, and a really difficult one, right? And people are pretty stymied by it, including myself. Let's see here. Is it okay I am imperfect? Absolutely. If we're not imperfect, yeah, I'm out, man. We all are amazing, wonderful, imperfect people, and perfect in our imperfection, as it were. Yeah. Can I fulfill my purpose while imperfect? How? I hope so. I'm imperfect, and I'm filling my purpose right now. I think that the idea of perfection is a myth, right? I mean, what is perfection? That's pretty.
Me.
Yeah, that's right. Jolene, of course, is perfect. I think that there is a lot of religion that require us to somehow be perfect or try to become perfect in either our self-awareness or, yeah. And I had this moment actually when I was in seminary. I was before seminary, and I decided I better start reading up on some things. And I started reading these mystics. I love mystics. And I was reading John of the Cross, and I was reading a book called The Cloud of Unknowing. It's written by a monk, but we don't know who it was written by. And both of them constantly said, I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner, I'm a sinner. And yet they would have all this incredible wisdom about letting go and, allowing spirit in and all that sort of thing. And I at one point I threw the books across the room because I was like, why can these people be so wise, right? And understanding about letting go and letting in and being open and everything. And then they call themselves sinners, right? And so I sat there as I was really frustrated, and I thought, okay, fine. I'm going to say it out loud. I've never done this before, and I sat back and I said, I am a sinner. And I tell you, the feeling that came over me was relief. I was really surprised, and I realized that part of it was that I was expecting myself going into seminary to somehow have all the mysticism figured out, to be this wise and amazing person who would have all the answers, and to be able to say, I don't, I'm imperfect, was such a relief, and it made me understand these mystics, that that's all they're saying, is that we're imperfect, and yet we can still let go, let the holy in, and become one. All right, I think that's all the questions that we have time for today. So let us sing one song that has, I think, a wonderful answer to it about how we UUs can be.
The promise of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love alive. And so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our God. We are
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing half of the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are partnering with Ray Elementary School. Here, a local elementary school here in Costa Mesa, not too far away from here, that is really moving forward with a lot of change in their robotics department. We were assisting them with their STEM program, the science, technology, engineering, and math, so that their kids can move forward and help us to move forward. So there are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, or use an app called Vanco Mobile. If you're a roomer, you can also simply use the basket as it's passed. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it. As always, thank you for your generosity.
Did you ever have to make up your mind and pick up on one and leave the other behind? It's not often easy and not often kind. Did you ever have to make up your mind? Did you ever have to finally decide and say yes to one and let the other one ride? There's so many changes and tears you must hide. Did you ever have to finally decide? Sometimes there's one with big blue eyes, cute as a bunny, with hair down to here and plenty of money. And just when you think she's that one in the world, your heart gets stolen by some mousy little girl. And then you know you better make up your mind and pick up on one and leave the other behind. It's not often easy and not often kind. Did you ever have to make up your mind? Sometimes you really dig a girl the moment you kissed her, and then you get distracted by her older sister. When in walks her father and takes you in line,
Says you better go home, son, and make up your mind.
then you bet you better finally decide and say yes to one and let the other one ride. There's so many changes and tears you must hide. Did you ever have to finally decide?
Okay, now please join us in singing We Gather Together, a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share.
We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
All right, now is that time in our service when we get to honor the important events and people in our lives. And you are invited, one and all, members, friends, visitors, to participate in this weekly ritual we call Joys and Sorrows. And basically the idea is that you come up and light a candle, and if you're online, you can write it in the chat what you would like to offer up. If you want to, you can just simply also just light a candle for me. Those of you here in the room, you can fill out another piece of paper that you may have been given when you first came in here. The ushers have them. If you want to raise your hand, they'll also come over. And if you want to share it with the congregation, you guys can simply come up and light a candle. But if you'd like to share it, simply come up and give that to me, and then I'll read them out loud, both the ones online and here in the room. So please come forward to light your candle, and then we'll read those out loud. So I'll read the one online by Peggy P. If you remember last year, we had a whole thing that Tracy D helped us with seedlings for the sage plants, to plant them. She says, Joy, the white sage seedling plant I picked up last year from OCUUC is planted and is thriving and blooming now. So, right on. All right, whoop, got another couple more up here. Let's see here. Oh. All right, yes, thank you for doing that. Okay, so Alejandro lit a candle of joy. He says, joy to be alive, well and loved, which he definitely is. And Peggy H. lit a candle of hope for the decision by the Methodists to allow LGBTQ ministers and marriage to be performed. If you didn't know, the Methodist Church voted yes. A lot of my colleagues are so happy about that. Let's see here. And let's see, Jolynn lit a candle of joy because her son Chance won the Louis Armstrong Award, a National Jazz Award. It's a major award, people. So, yeah. All right, and Rachel L. said that she has a big presentation, and she lit a candle of anticipation. She has a big presentation at work on Tuesday that she's really excited about, so wish her luck and give her a hug. All right, let's see here. And Craig S., he lit a candle of joy because he is celebrating his mother's 100th birthday today. Although she's not with us, we think of her often. Yeah. Aw. And Craig P. lit a candle of joy. This is so sweet. He said, I had tears of joy hearing you say to me, it is okay to be imperfect. Thank you. Absolutely. We all imperfect and wonderfully so. And another big announcement by Damon. So Damon and Pritcha were married on Thursday. So oh, and I do have one more here. Sorry, there's a couple more here that I didn't get to. Let's see. Donna M. Said, please light a healing candle for her left knee that has tendonitis in it. So, poor thing, she needs to stay off it for a little while. I have a feeling that, what was it, Cinco de Mayo party went a little bit too much. Yeah. Let's see here. And Sarah J. said, a candle of gratitude for all of the friendship and support from her church family, especially from my sisters in the Crazy Eight. Those are a bunch of people here, who blessed her family with meal delivery and groceries this past week as my husband recovers from surgery. P.S. Thank you to whoever left the fancy chocolates in my office this morning. Awesome. All right. Please join Lori in a spirit of prayer as she reads a poem by Denise Levertov.
Just when you seem to yourself nothing but a flimsy web of questions, you are given the questions of others to hold in the emptiness of your hands. Songbird eggs that can still hatch if you keep them warm. Butterflies opening and closing themselves in your cup palms, trusting you not to injure their scintillant fur, their dust. You are given the questions of others as if they were answers to all you ask. Yes, perhaps this gift is your answer.
Amen.
Okay, let us join together as we extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, we extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the prayer of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are a congregation made up of people who all believe differently, and yet, when we gather together, whether we're in the room or on Zoom, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you're a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. If you'd like to know more about our church, we invite you to either stop by the welcome table here in the courtyard, where we have some goodies and information. Contact us at hello@ocuuc.org, and we will help you get connected. Or you can sign up for our weekly newsletter called The Blast at blast@ocuuc.org. For our roomers, we also offer congregation welcoming and openness here in the courtyard afterwards, if you could meet. If you do have any other questions, Reverend Sean will be available outside as well. For our Zoomers, please we're welcome to stay after and stay in the chat and chat with one another online. We want everyone to feel a part of this beloved community, so please reach out and we'll help you get connected.
Okay, announcements, bunch of announcements up there, as you can see, all sorts of fun things going on. There is this wonderful webinar on Thursday called Reparations Now that's being actually put out by Tapestry, which is our Southern congregation, and another organization. It's about the California Reparations Committee's recommendation for reparations, and it should be really interesting. There's information in the blast if you want to register for that. It is online, which is kind of nice as well. Let's see here. The auction is more or less up and running. So we have an auction online this year. It's just online. We're not meeting in person. So anybody, if you're a friend even, you can go on and register on it. Go to our website, go down to auction, and it'll tell you how to register if you want to bid on different items. If you're new, if it hasn't been set up, talk to Sarah, our administrator, admin at ocuuc.org, and she can help you get connected, or just auction at ocuuc.org. My understanding is that the guy who's running it is in another country at the moment. He's on vacation. And so the website kind of goes up and it goes down, and it goes up and it goes down. So if it doesn't work for you, just come back a little bit later, refresh it, log back in, unlog, and then log back in and try again. So we won't be using this software next year. But at any rate, I did want to point out that there was a really great question about auctions. And it says, there are many things to love about UU congregations, including one of my favorites, which is the auction events. However, by their design, our auctions can be exclusive based on financial means. So how can we make our auction events more inclusive while still raising required funds to serve our congregation? So that's something that we struggle with as a congregation, right? We want to make sure things are accessible, but we're also trying to raise funds, you know? And I'm constantly out big, because I'm like, yeah, I can't afford that. that dinner, and there's some wonderful things on there. So a couple of things that we do is, one, we try to provide things that are very low cost, but the other is that people will often say, buy a spot at a dinner, right? But they can't make it, it turns out, as they get closer to it. And so they tell me, and I can recommend people to them. And I will often recommend people who don't have a lot of funds to be able to support that, so that they can be involved also in the auction events. So those are kind of the ways that we do it. We used to have ones like, we'll start up Music Under the Stars here as well at some point. And that was one where, like, yeah, it was like $5 to join in, but anybody could really go, honestly. You didn't really even have to do the $5, but it'd be nice, you know, if you can afford it. So there are certain things that you can do, but it's a balance that we constantly try to find. So anyway, I just want to mention that about the auction. I thought it was a really great one. And let's see, the other thing I want to mention, let's see, Flower Communion is actually next Sunday, which is a change from what we had in the newsletter. So some things got changed around with Karen Magoon having to resign. So we're going to do it next week, which is still going to be run by the youth. So we're going to have a youth Sunday next Sunday. Should be a lot of fun, and they're going to do the Flower Communion. So bring your flowers. If you've never been part of Flower Communion, just know all you need to do is bring a flower. And if you forget, don't worry about it. We always have plenty. So it's a wonderful Unitarian Universalist way of doing communion that's really beautiful. It's my favorite services all year long, and I will be here even though the youth will be running it. So I think, let's see, is that everything that I need to do? Oh, we need ushers. We need 2 more ushers. This is a great thing if people are somewhat new to the congregation or just want to get involved and get to know people. Ushering is a great way to do it, and it's really quite straightforward and easy. So if you would like to be an usher, see one of the ushers. Marilyn is here. There she is back here. She is currently coordinating the ushers. And so see her, and she'll be happy to help you out about that. So as our last question, I got, how many UUs does it take to change a light bulb? Only one, but you gotta go see Jennifer Thomas' new Buildings and Grounds chair, okay? All right, let us sing our benediction.
Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out with indifference and sorrow. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out and all do our part. Let us go out, bring joy to each heart. Let us go out with indifference and sorrow. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy. Let us go out with joy.
Woo! This service is over. Let our service continue.